Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of this React cheat sheet series. So here, this is the app component. Basically, this one is rendering the components here, right? So inside the components, it's very simple. It's just showing the text saying "am from component." And now let's have a look at the screen. So this is the result, right? Am from component. So now let's go back to our code, and what I'm going to show you in this part 2 is to learn about the JSX rules. Basically, we want to understand like what are the rules when we considering using the JSX. All right. So the first one here, in a single component, right? So in this case, this is the component JS. In a single component, it must return a single element. All right, so inside here you can see we are returning one element, which is the div tag. And what I mean by this is if I'm going to copy this, right, and paste it down here. So this means it returning two elements, and React doesn't allow us to do that, right? So you can see before I even try to compile, and we can already see the error already, right? So it's showing the error down here. So if I want to use two div tag, so how I'm going to show this, right? Basically, this is the code that you will need to write. You will need to write the code react.fragment. Okay, so fragment, and we need to cut this and put it at the end of the code. And when I save it, right, so let me just align this properly. Okay, so now you can see the error has gone, compiled successfully, and we can see the result, the two line of text here. And this is one way of writing here, right? If you want to use multiple elements inside a single component. And the other one, the shortcut to write like the long code react.fragment, you can just get rid of this text here. Okay, so this is the shorthand. And when I try to go back, and we can still see it. Okay, so let's just change the text, say line 1, and this one here is line 2. Okay, have a look, and yep, it's rendering properly now. So this is the first rule in the JSX. So it must return a single element, and if you want to use multiple tags, then you can use this, or you can write the react.fragment. And number 2, okay, so when we use the opening tag, it has to be closed. So right here, what I mean by that is, let's say this one here. Okay, so this is the opening tag, and it has to close with this, right, using the forward slash here. Okay, so if let's say I just directly using the component as in, and when I compile, you can see the error shown here. Okay, so if there's only opening tag, it has to be closed, so we can use the self closing tag. So this is called self closing tag. Okay, and yep, that is the second point in the JSX. And the third one here is using the React attributes instead of the HTML attributes. Let me just go back to the component.js, and inside this component here, so say if I want to change the text color of this line of text, then what I can do, I can normally in CSS we can just use class equal to the name of the class, right? So it can be like red text, stuff like this, right? But in React, this is not the right way to use this. So say in this case, for the class name, it has to be, the first one here is small letter, and the second part here, it start with the capital letter. This is the, again, call React attributes. Okay, so we have to use follow this. This is just one example using the class name, but there are a lot more when we get to this. So yep, this is the third point in the JSX rule. So now we have already looked into this, and next part here. So next I'll show you about the styling of the React. The first one here is CSS imports. Okay, so I want to let's say I change the text here to the red color. Basically I can just create a new file, the new CSS file, right? So click here, and I can just call this as app.css, or you can already see by default it comes with this, right? So I can just get rid of this, and then we can start from scratch, so it's easier to understand. And say if I want to change the color of the text to red color, then I can just write red text. So this basically like the name of the class, right? So this will be color then red. Okay, so this is the CSS file, and in the app.js, then we import this directly, right? So import dot slash app.css, so it's coming from the same directory. Okay, and in the div tag here, I can just use the class name, right? So class name equal to red text. And now let's render this. It compiles successfully, and now you can see the line is showing the red color. Okay, so I can just change this to say green, then rendering again, it's showing green. Okay, so this one here is the CSS import. We import a separate CSS file into our JS file, okay, into the React code. So next want to show you is using the inline CSS. Okay, so rather than just import it from a separate file like app.css here, we want to directly write the code. Okay, so now let's just get rid of this part. I have to show you the other part. Okay, so let's just comment this and go to components.js. And if I want to change just one color of the first line, the line 1 here, so I can just use the inline CSS, right? So it will be style equal to, and the syntax is double curly bracket, and inside here we can just write any CSS attribute. Okay, so can be red, right? And when I compile, go have a look, and yep, it's showing the red color for line number 1 here, the text 1 here. And if I change this to just say like yellow, right, have a look, and yep, it's showing as yellow. And the same for this one. If you want to change this to the other color, right, you can do that here as well. So this will be separate from the first line, so it's showing this too. Okay, so this is the inline CSS. All right. Okay guys, so the last topic about the styling in React is CSS module. Okay, so CSS module, the syntax is a little bit different, and now let's see what it looks like. I'm going to use the component.js here. So this is the code we have already seen, right? Now instead of commenting this out, let me just write it down here. Okay, so here let's just create another tag. This tag, let's just say inside here we want to show h1. Okay, so let's just say this is the CSS module. Okay, and now we will need to create a separate CSS file. So inside the same directory, let's just write give it a name. So this is the component.js, right? So we use the same one. So component dot module dot css. Okay, so this is the syntax that we have to use. And inside this module CSS here, we can start writing our code. So the code here, let's just write green text. Okay, just keep things simple. And inside this, we can just use the green. All right, so now let's go back to the component.js. We need to import this file right here. So to import the file, this is the syntax. So import, we can just give it any name. I could use the styles from, this is the file itself. So the file called component.module.css. all right. So now we have the style and we can start using it. So to use this style, this one, we will need to use the class name. Okay, so class name equal to style dot and inside the file, what is it? It's called green text. So we can just copy and paste it here. And now let's have a look. Okay, so here you can see we see the CSS module in green color because we are using the H1. That's the reason why we can see the font is a little bit bigger compared to the p tag. Okay, so this is the third options about the styling. Okay, so this one again, it's called CSS module. So in the file name we need to write .module. Okay, so on top here, instead of importing it directly, we can just give it a name. All right, so you can just call this as the classes as well, right? So classes. And now let's just save it and have a look. We can still see the result, right? Okay, so far we have seen these three options, right? The first one here using the CSS import, so import directly, right? And the second option is to use the inline styling, so inline CSS. And third option here is the CSS module. So the part 2, yep, that's pretty much it. And if you have any question, let me know, and we'll see you again in the part 3.